Let's start by examining the claims made by Reform UK's campaign coordinator on immigration. Phrases like "no real border control" and "open the floodgates" are designed to alarm. What's the reality behind these statements?
These assertions are more rhetorical than factual. Since Brexit, the UK has actually tightened border controls, introducing electronic travel authorisations and ramping up checks. The Home Office enforces immigration laws robustly, and the rise in immigration is managed through policies like the points-based system and increased deportations.
That's an important distinction. How do these policies compare with the public perception that borders are essentially open?
Public perception often lags behind policy changes. For example, media headlines amplify isolated incidents, leading to the impression of porous borders. However, official figures show a steady increase in removals of illegal entrants and a growing use of biometrics at ports, illustrating that border control is anything but lax.
So, the rhetoric doesn't quite map onto the operational reality. Before we move on, how do these narratives impact actual policy making?
They create pressure for reactionary policies, sometimes diverting resources to visible crackdowns rather than evidence-based solutions. This can hinder long-term strategic planning for migration, which is crucial for economic and social stability.
Let's shift to crime and policing. The claim that we don't have enough police on our streets is a recurring theme. Is this a fair assessment when we look at the actual data?
The reality is nuanced. Crime statistics for England and Wales show about 6.6 million incidents for the year ending March 2025, which is a slight decrease from the previous year. While there are resource constraints, the narrative that police are absent or distracted by social media monitoring oversimplifies operational priorities.
That's interesting. There's a perception that policing priorities have shifted away from community safety. Is this supported by evidence?
Not entirely. Surveys indicate that while social media monitoring has grown, it represents a fraction of police workload. Most resources are still allocated to violent crime, property offences, and community engagement. The idea that officers are just monitoring tweets ignores the complexity of modern policing, which must respond to both physical and digital spaces.
So, the charge that police neglect core duties doesn't hold up. As we transition, how does this misrepresentation affect public trust?
It erodes confidence in law enforcement and can actually make recruitment and retention more difficult, creating a feedback loop where negative perceptions become self-fulfilling.
Now, on to criminal justice. Reform UK claims that our prisons are full, meaning criminals walk free. This paints a dire picture. Can you walk us through the actual situation?
Certainly. As of March 2025, the prison population in England and Wales reached about 88,000 near capacity, but not unprecedented. Mechanisms like parole and early release exist, but decisions are made based on individual risk assessments, not simply to clear space. Blanket releases are rare and tightly regulated.
It sounds like the system is more sophisticated than public rhetoric suggests. What are the risks of oversimplifying the issue?
Oversimplification ignores the root causes of crime and the need for rehabilitation. If we focus solely on punitive measures or capacity, we miss opportunities to reduce recidivism. For example, Norway's lower reoffending rates are tied to rehabilitation, not harsher sentences or more prisons.
That's a crucial point. How does this contrast with the narrative of criminals being released en masse?
It's largely a myth. The vast majority of early releases are for non-violent offenders and come with strict conditions. The real issue is investing in alternatives to incarceration and addressing systemic factors like addiction and poverty.
Perhaps the most charged claim is that immigrants do not want to integrate and are responsible for much of the crime. What does the data actually tell us about immigration and integration?
Multiple studies, including a 2022 Home Office report, less likely to commit crimes than native-born citizens. Integration varies, but community-based initiatives and language programs have shown positive results. Stereotyping immigrants as criminals is unsupported by evidence and harmful to social cohesion.
And when it comes to cultural integration, what are some real-world examples of success and failure?
Take the NHS. Over a third of its staff are foreign-born, integrating successfully and providing essential services. On the flip side, lack of integration support in some towns has led to isolated communities. The key is targeted investment, not blanket blame.
There's also the argument about the necessity of immigration for the UK's future. How does immigration support the economy, especially with an ageing population?
The UK faces a demographic time bomb, an ageing population and shrinking workforce. Immigrants fill skill gaps, pay taxes, and sustain public services like healthcare. Without them, projections show GDP growth would stagnate and pension systems would be under severe strain.
As we wrap up, how do narratives around Islamophobia laws play into this broader debate?
Laws against hate speech, including Islamophobia, exist to protect individuals, not to suppress criticism. Misrepresenting these laws fuels division. Empathy and fact-based discussion are vital for navigating these complex issues and building a more inclusive society.